Hello everyone, and welcome to my video. This is the video for Pluto in the 11th house. I hope you guys are enjoying my series of Pluto through the houses, where I channeled to see what was coming up in these houses if you have a Pluto placement here. And if you want to see the first video that explains all of it, I'll link it here at the end of the video. But when I channeled, I not only wanted to know what trauma, obsessiveness, power plays were coming out of this house, each house. I wanted to know how to get out of them. Because from my understanding, I've had Pluto very prominent in my chart my whole life. Pluto is trauma that we carry. It's almost like the baggage we carry in through lifetimes, because we're trying to heal it. Pluto's trying to help us heal this. And being a medium, being a hypnotherapist, this is just another way. Astrology is something that I love. So this is just another way to help explain why you do the things you do, what's going on, where's the pain, how do I get through the pain, why do I feel this pain? Because a lot of you, if it's not in your childhood, it's in other lives, it's in past lives or future lives. So I wanted to know what each house, what traumas were coming out of the houses and how to get through them. So I'm hoping, and I'm doing this slowly. I'm giving each house its time because I have to go in there and see everything and relive everything again when I'm channeling, when I'm making these videos for you. So thank you for being patient. They're coming out as they come out. So if you don't know which house your Pluto is in, please go back to the first one. Again, I'm going to link it up here. That'll tell you what house you should be looking for. There's two houses you'll be looking for. Your natal Pluto, which is where Pluto was when you were born, and then your transiting Pluto, which Pluto is in Aquarius right now, but where does Aquarius lie in your chart? And that's the house you need to be looking at, because that's what will be coming up in the next 20 years. Those are the cycles. Those are the next 20 years. We have a lot of Aquarius placements right now. Aquarius is heavy right now and are really activated in our charts. And because Pluto is such a big transition, I wanted everybody to I wanted to understand more, and I'm letting you guys know, kind of giving you a little glimpse into my world and how I do things and work things. Again, if you find that this resonates, if your Pluto's in your 11th house, and you find that this resonates, and you're needing some help, or you want to know, some detail stuff, because I'm going to be as detailed as I can, but I'm talking to a group of people, right? So I do hypnosis, do hypnotherapy. I can take you to your past life. I can connect you to your higher self. What I do is connect you to your higher self, and your higher self knows where to take you, but your higher self knows you have questions about where you want to go. So, I connect you to your higher self. We can go to your past, present, future lives. That's between you and your higher self. I just help guide it. So, and there's some amazing things come out of that. And after I get these videos out, I am going to put out some videos of some clients of mine that have taken this to some really special places. So back to the 11th house Pluto. This is a personal one for me. I know I said the second one is too, well, a lot of them are personal to me, but the 11th house is personal to me because it was my 11th house is Capricorn. So it just transited the last 16 years, my 11th house. And if you know me, you can kind of see what Pluto did in my 11th house, and how that transit, it can kind of connect the dots to see maybe how that might play out or start to play out if your 11th house transit is activated for the next 20 years. It's going to be a little different because it's an Aquarius and not in Capricorn, right? But this is an Aquarius house. The 11th house is an Aquarius house. It'll have some Aquarian themes to it. And that's a little bit advanced for some people, but let's get back to the basics. So the 11th house, if you were born, this first part I'm going to do is where your natal is. So your natal Pluto, that means you were born in your birth chart, Pluto's in your 11th house. Okay. So Pluto in the 11th house. If you were born with this placement, you have probably always been the wild card. You've probably always been the eccentric one. You probably always, um, or you felt the need to break free from systems, from groups. You've probably always tried to be a loner, but maybe that didn't work out so well. If you're transiting, especially, but you've always been, you have this like need to try to get away from your past, or try to get away from the groups, or try to get away from society, or try to get away from organizations and systems and groups can be a lot of things. They can be like, I mean, the big one that comes to mind is church, but that's more the ninth house. That's your belief system. The 12th house is, society systems. For me, I was in the healthcare system, right? So the healthcare system, the school system, the law system, it's all kinds of groups. So think about groups. It could be your tribe, it could be the occult, it could be, and there is cults in this house, right? This is groups. So the occult, the cult itself, tribes, small villages, just think of groups, like even a reading group, a male group, a female group. I'm trying to bring up stuff that a group would mean, or a system, or an organization of some sort. And you've probably always felt like, either when you were young, this was put upon you, and because of that, you kind of outgrew them. You saw that they weren't what they said they were, or they didn't match up to what they were trying to preach or trying to teach, or any of that. And so, if you saw this in your childhood, you probably either outgrew them, separated from them somehow. And this doesn't necessarily have to be in your childhood. I have just found through doing all of my work that there's something about bringing in the signature of other lives, or especially the one that's recent, bringing it into, it's almost like you have the energy of that in your childhood, and so you get some of the same things going on, but not necessarily all of them. So either your family system, the organization, maybe your family was very religious, and you sort of understood that there was more than that religion. Maybe your family was in a cult, and you understood that that was not what they said they were going to be. Maybe you, and this is when you were a child, but somehow or another, either you were, as you got older, or if this isn't your childhood, it's other lives, you were ostracized, or you were, you speaking out didn't, you speaking out and seeing that it wasn't the truth, or seeing that they didn't say that what it is, seeing that what they were saying and what they were about wasn't really matching up with either you or what they said that they were about, right? So it caused you to move away, or it caused them to let you go, right? One of these things happened. But this was part of your path. You are meant, or were meant at that time, to sort of want to break free, understand. So let me explain this. The 11th house is a very intellectual, bright house. So, and it's almost so intuitive and psychic that you can tell when people are, you can see I won't say it's like psychic, I will say it's like patterns. You'll see the truth because the pattern isn't working, if that makes sense. Those of you that have like some spectrum going on, you understand that, right? Like, you'll see that the pattern doesn't work. You'll see that the pattern is not right. And that is I call it the BS meter, right? So you'll see that it's not the truth. You'll see that it doesn't make any sense. And if you're in 11th house Pluto, you're probably very, 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 very intelligent. And because you're very intelligent and you can see the patterns, you can see when there's a lie, when it's not the truth, when there's injustice, when it just doesn't work for you anymore. And you probably throughout your life have been standing there and you can see that it makes no sense, but everybody else doesn't see it. And probably used to wonder why it didn't make sense, or why people, not why it didn't make sense, but why couldn't people see what you were seeing? Like, some of you may have even said, like, are you seriously that, you didn't probably say this out loud, but you were probably thinking, are you seriously that dumb? Like, you can't see it. It's because they couldn't see it. But you are that bright. You are that intelligent. You are that eccentric. You don't think in the box. You think out of the box. You think very abstract, and you can see patterns before people can see patterns. Most people aren't even looking for patterns, at least on a conscious scale. Subconsciously they are, but not on a conscious scale. So if this sounds like you, and you were either you were pushed away from the group or you outgrew the group and decided to leave. If this sounds like you, then you're in the right place. That's the 11th house Pluto. Okay. You always had this way of not wanting to be confined. You want the freedom. You need the expansion. Does that make sense? You have the desire to, if this happened in your childhood, you have this huge, could still have this huge desire to separate from either where you came from, or maybe not your family, but the culture. So it was the culture. It could have been the culture. Could have been the religion. Could have been the societal, the small town thing. Something like that. But it caught you wanted to break free. You had this thing about moving past that, breaking free. So you at some point decided, or saw the truth of it, or saw the patterns, or came to this conclusion that you could no longer identify with this group or this system or this organization. And so that caused you to sort of, like, you had outgrown them, right? Like, you'd outgrown them. And again, because of that, either you went away from the group or you tried telling the truth in the group, because maybe you were standing there and it's like, don't you guys see what's really going on? And you were ostracized for it. Because you spoke up, because you spoke out. And you did this in other lives. If this isn't your childhood, you did this in other lives. You got ostracized for this. You got punished for this. You got pushed away from the group for this. For speaking up, for finding the truth, for saying, that what this group says it's doing, it's not doing. We're moving in a different direction. And you were just trying to, like, make people aware because you believed in this. This is the group or system or organization that it was either put upon you from your childhood, or in other lives it could have been put upon you, but you believed in it. Even though it's put upon you, you believed in it. You had your whole heart in it. You understood it at the time, but you came to a point, because you're very intelligent, because you're very bright, because you thought outside of the box, especially in other lives. Could have been future life too, but especially because we're talking 11th house, so this could be future lives too. But whatever this is, you spoke up, you spoke out, and that caused you to be taken from the group, or ostracized and made to leave the group, or most likely you were ostracized and made to leave the group, but some of you may have walked away from the group. And in walking away from the group, this could have been spiritual groups too. Very much so, it could have been spiritual groups too. Like, I can see the Atlanteans doing this. I could see when I was channeling, I could see the Atlanteans doing this. I could see the Lemurians doing this, having the issue with that stuff. That's just sort of a side note when I was channeling. But with this Pluto placement, something went wrong where either you spoke out, and it caused it, it caused y'all to separate, right? And again, this hurt badly because this was some group, organization, culture, cult, family that you completely believed in, and you just happened to see a pattern or a lie, or that they were stuck, or that you all were stuck and you just saw another way, and they didn't like that because people don't like it when you're in a group and you speak out. People don't like the change. Some people, most people, and I am going to say most people, would rather bury their head in the sand and pretend like it didn't happen, pretend like nothing's going on, pretend like we can just keep going the way that we're going. That's part of the problem right now. That's not happening anymore. Okay. So with you doing that, you had to separate from them. Um, and in separating from them, this hurt really, really badly. This was very, very, very painful because you believed in them, because you believed in this group, because you believed in this way. You had everything in this, and this group may have had like very high morals or very whatever they had. Whatever this was, it meant a lot to you, and you sort of saw the truth of it, which like you can say they fell off the pedestal, right? Like you had this group on a pedestal and they fell from grace, right? um it could have been too where there could have been some in the group where it started, because even in cults, I'm not going to say just cults because even systems do this, where there's abuse in there, and there's mistreatment in there of humanity, of people. And this is the 11th house. This is humanity. This is an Aquarian house, right? So that whatever it was that caused you to break free was very, very painful. So painful that you brought it into this life to try to heal it, right? So again, you probably feel like you've outgrown a system, you've outgrown a group, you've outgrown, maybe you're trying to escape from your childhood. This is if you haven't worked on your Pluto. If you've worked on your Pluto, this is going to be a memory. You're going to be like, yeah, yeah, that's why I did that. That's why I did that, right? Um, the other thing too is if you have other planets in this house, that could be very telling about where you're trying to move and what part of the story you're trying to heal for you. The story meaning your past life story, your future life story. Um, so check to see if you have planets in there. And again, you have moved through life because you see patterns, because you're very, very smart. You're very smart. Um, where you can see people right away lying, right away not telling the truth, right away saying something and doing something else. And they may not even be aware that they're saying one thing and doing another, but you are, right? And that automatically makes you want to puke, makes you want to stay away from them, right? And the deep pain comes from understanding that the group and the organization or the cult or the tribe or the spiritual group, whatever this is, that you put everything in and so believed in and put your trust in, and even worked a lot in this to help with the group. The pain is that it doesn't align with you anymore because you know better. For yourself, you know better, you see things differently. It's not the way that they see it. um, and then once you've walked away or were ostracized or pulled away, that's when you sort of get clear-headed. You got clear-headed and you were like beginning to be in your own energy, and that's where the hurt comes in, because you realize that what they said wasn't true, and what they were doing wasn't healthy, and there could have been some abuse, and there could have been um yeah, some abuse, and they could have, then you realize some of them were actually lying on purpose, some of them were actually mistreating on purpose, some of them in the group, or the group itself was being very, very abusive, right? um and you can also have this where they just aren't, and this isn't to take the high road or think you're better, you're just that smart, that you're just way more intelligent than those people, and the fact that you could see this stuff going on and nobody else could see this stuff going on caused you to sort of rethink that and understand that about yourself, right? So once you pull away from the group, or if you've pulled away from the group, and some of you may already be past this part, but being pulled away from the group, or leaving the group, or being ostracized from the group, or being cut off from the group, whatever happens, it caused you to be by yourself. And then with all that pain of having been disappointed, of understanding that people are the way that they are, of understanding misuse, abuse, and all of that, causes you to want to be alone and not be in any group. Because then you come to this point where you're like, well, forget that. Groups aren't any good. Groups are bad. And I would just rather be by myself, and you want to be a loner, right? So it's really, really easy, really easy. And this is where the Pluto needs to heal, because you immediately want to be by yourself. You immediately, and let me say it this way. You may want to be by yourself, but never want to engage with a group or in a group again. That is the wrong thing to do. It is okay to be by yourself and understand you and your energy and your gifts and your eccentricity and all of that. That's a healing process that you need to go through. But to keep your heart closed and just say, well, I'm comfortable, I don't need groups, organizations are full of it, it's we're never going to get it right, I'd just rather be alone, I'll just be the lone wolf, I'll just do, that is not the way to do the 11th house. That is what you're going to want to do at the 11th house, because it's just easier and less painful for you, right? It's calmer for you. It's better for you to be in your own energy than having to co-create and cooperate and do all of that by yourself, right? Than to have to do all of that. But the thing is we didn't come here to be by ourselves. We came here to be co-creating with groups, in organizations, changing systems, changing organizations. We're a people, and this is a people house. We're humans. There's humanitarianism here, and as much as you want to isolate and be alone, and that's okay for during the time of the healing, and take as much time as you need, right? But if you don't take the time, this can go two ways. If you don't take the time and can't be without a group and feel like I got to rush back into a group, and so you find another group, you could be repeating this cycle, because Pluto is here in your 11th house as your natal. So that means you could go through this lifetime trying to heal this, and the way to heal it is not to jump right back into a group, but it's also not to completely isolate and never go into a group. Does that make sense? So you're going to want to do one or the other. And what you have to do is understand who you are, what your belief system, what do you believe in? What do you know from your brain and your patterns? Now, once you get into your own energy and realize that, that you are not them and they are not you, and who you really are and what you really understand, and then what you really believe, and then what you really want to do, or what you can see doing, that's when you're starting to heal, because you want to create again, and you want to create in groups or in organizations or in systems, right? And it's going to be really, really, really easy for you not to do it with anyone to be a loner, or to jump right in and do it with a group that doesn't match you just because you don't want to be alone without a group, right? So one or the other. Those both are wrong. What you need to do is take the time for yourself and understand you. Once you understand you, then it's time to open the heart again. You're going to want to create, right? So for those of you that isolate, that have left groups, that have said, forget that. I'm not ever doing a group again. I'm not ever believing in what they believe in. I'm not ever standing with somebody. I'm not doing it. You're going to have to go in, and this is how you get out of it. This is how you heal your Pluto. Once you understand you, once you know what you see, once you understand your personality, once you understand the cause that you want to go for, once you understand it coming from you, not coming from the outside source, but coming from you. Once you understand that, then you either want to create that group or find that group. And you don't really have to look far to find the group. Once you're in that type of energy of understanding who you are, the group will come to you. You will find that you're going along and you're seeing this and you're doing that and you're making that choice and that, and you're sort of, but you have to do it with an open heart. Your heart has to open after it's healed, and you have to begin to dream, begin to see, because think about it. We wouldn't be able to, I don't know, let me think. We wouldn't be able to understand about herbs, right? If there wasn't a group of people that decided to like investigate that. We wouldn't understand about healthcare if there wasn't a group of people. We wouldn't understand about penicillin. We wouldn't understand about light, electricity. We wouldn't understand. There's a lot of things that required groups. There's a lot of things that we can do more as a group and get the movement going forward, because it's futuristic. This is the 11th house, than doing it on our own, right? It's not like we can't do it on our own, but we didn't come here to do it on our own. That's the issue. The issue is we are beings that can do anything, but when we're here, we have been born here to do it with the group. If your 11th house is activated, you just got to heal that part. It is time to heal that Pluto. It's time to heal that part. And Pluto is going to bring up the fear. So with Pluto bringing up the fear, like I was saying before, if you jump right back into this and you have not healed this part, you are going to attract the same fear. Your fears are going to come up. They're going to do the same things. They're going to be abusive. They're going to be closed-minded. They're going to be traumatizing. I mean, Pluto will bring up the fear and the obsession, right? And so that will continue to come up throughout your life. If you were born with this, if you're born with Pluto in this natal house, if you're born with Pluto in the 11th house, you will continue, but you are not here to do it by yourself and isolate. You're not here to be the lone wolf. You're not. You're here to do it in groups. And you are so smart and so out of the box thinking that you can choose to look at systems, to look at organizations, to look at cults, to look at people, to look at groups and say, I like this group. They're doing this, but I can see where they're off a little. And I have a new way. Maybe they will accept me. And maybe I can show them my futuristic thinking, my ideas along with theirs. And maybe we all can come up with something. That is the way you want to work in a group. But maybe you say, I don't see that type of group. I see this space where we can as humans, and this would help humanity, and this would help this group and this would help that and this would help progress us forward, but I don't see a group for that. Maybe you start that group, right? It doesn't have to be on a big scale. It could be a very small scale. But whatever this is, you're meant to work. And because your brain is so futuristic, you are meant to either go change something in the systems that we have now. And the clue is we just went through Pluto and Capricorn that took down some systems, and whatever's left needs to be changed. So, those 11th house, if you're watching this and you're able to, and you see a way that nobody's seen yet, it's time. It's time to step it up if you're healed, if you're healing this Pluto. Because that too, once you've moved forward and progressed forward, that is healing your Pluto as well. Okay? So, does all that make sense? And then you'll know, because you'll have a group, or you'll be in a group that aligns with your mission, that aligns with your cause, that aligns with you. And you don't have to change any of that. That will already be in place. That makes sense? And then you'll understand you didn't have to change. You really didn't have to change. You just had to find the right group. But you didn't know the group you were searching for until you cleared your energy and attracted your group. Okay? And then once you do this, you can transform this group. You can help this group progress forward, right? Where the focus is on humanity, where the focus is on the group, where the focus is on making the future better and brighter for us all. And again, it doesn't have to be a big thing. Some of you, it is a big thing, right? But it doesn't have to be, because this is a natal. You've been working on this a long time. So I do not discount where this could be on a bigger scale. And as a medium, I have been channeling this a lot, where I can see some people need to step up. Some people need to, and like I've talked to you guys, to the Aquarians, some people need to step up. It's time to get out of your head. It's time to stop just thinking it. It's time to start doing it. That's what this Pluto in Aquarius is going to be in the next 20 years, right? So, again, don't discount yourself. If you're seeing something with a group, or you're seeing where you could make a group that isn't here, or maybe there's one here and it kind of resonates with you, if it's your group, if it's for you, they're going to absolutely accept the fact that you have a different way of thinking. And maybe they're sitting there, maybe for the last 2, 3, 5, 10 years, they've been thinking, oh God, please somebody come up with something. Maybe they've been waiting for you, right? So don't let this hinder you. Understand that you have a big brain, that you are extremely intelligent, and that you see a way very different than others see the way. And you just need to heal this Pluto so that you can get to your mission. You can get to your cause. Because we need to see all that. You need to share that with us, because we're kind of at a place that we're needing to see all that, right? So I hope that helps. The next part I'm going to do is the transiting Pluto. And that would be, you weren't born with Pluto in the 11th house, but you were born with Aquarius being your 11th house. And that means Pluto is there right now. And it's already started beginning to transit. It's going to be in there for 20 years. Okay. So that's going to be the next part. Okay, this is the next part. This is the Pluto transiting in your 11th house. That means that in your natal chart, you were born with Aquarius in your 11th house. And Pluto is there right now transiting, and it will be transiting there for the next 20 years. Okay, so you 11th house people, this is personal to me because I just did it. I just did it in Capricorn. So Capricorn is my 11th house. For 16 years, Pluto is my 11th house. It is now in my 12th house, which is Not fun. But it wasn't fun in the 11th house either because my structures were taken down. Like you guys heard me. If you've seen all my other videos on Pluto, I've been really raw and really honest and really authentic with you guys. So if you are, but I made it through, you can make it through. But you don't have to be as stubborn as me either. So you can do this much, much easier. So let me help you by showing you what I had to go through and what you might be going through. Doesn't mean you'll go through it because we don't have the same charts, right? There are other things involved. You could have planets here that make it, better or more trauma, okay? I'm being really real with y'all. Pluto is not a light subject, but I think that if we can get to the deep down healing of this, we can let go of a lot of this stuff and then we get lighter. We have more understanding. We grow our soul, which is what we're here to do, right? So, if if Pluto is transiting your 11th house, it will be transiting from now until 2040, 41. This is about the 11th house is the Aquarian house. The 11th house has a lot of eccentricity. It's very futuristic. I mean, it is where your wishes, hopes, and dreams are, but it's very futuristic. So, saying it's for your hopes and dreams is like not being deep. And although I would love for it to be, oh, it's about the hopes and wishes and dreams. It is about the hopes and wishes and dreams. But do you know what it takes to get to your authentic self that has the hopes and wishes and dreams? That means all the other layers of bullshit got to come out. Yeah. So if you have hopes, wishes, and dreams, but you haven't dreamt them since you were a child, and you haven't hoped them since you were a teen, and you haven't wished for them since you were a preteen, guess what? All those other layers got to come out, got to come down, got to go away for you to get to the hopes, wishes, and dreams. And that is the reality of hopes, wishes, and dreams. Okay? This is Pluto we're talking about. Pluto is the planet of destruction, rebirth, transformation, power. He will put power plays in front of you so that you understand your power. He will bring, how will he do that? He'll bring up your trauma. He'll bring up your fear. He'll bring up your obsessions. That's how he does it. Because at some point, you'll have so much trauma that you finally decide to freaking look at it and heal it. You'll have so much fear that you don't have any fear anymore. You'll have so much of it that you're like, okay, like this is what I told you guys. This is what I did. And excuse my cussing, but this is how I feel. Like at some point, you're just like, fuck it. Let's just do it and get it over with so we can fucking heal this and get going. At some point, there's only so much fear you can have before you decide to move, right? And that's what he'll do. So I'm not doing that to have you focus on the fear. I'm telling you to be as authentic as possible because I want you to understand. This is the whole reason for the series. I want you to understand Pluto. I want you to understand how he works. How does he work in your life? It's not a bad thing and it's not a good thing. It just is the thing that helps you, that you want to you want your soul to experience and understand and grow in this. Not your higher self, not your higher being, but your soul and your sort of your skin here, your soul, your body wants to understand this. And it's been wanting to for lifetimes. It's been trying to for lifetimes. In this transit, what I understood when I channeled is this: if you have a transit, this means you're almost done healing it because Pluto takes lifetimes to heal. And this, if it's transiting, you have the it's like 90% that it will heal in this life because you've been trying to heal it for so many lifetimes, right? So that's my understanding between the transit and the natal. The natal is it doesn't mean you can't heal it when it's in your natal, because you may have been trying 200 other times and then you took a whole lifetime this time to be able to heal it in your natal. Does that make sense? Or this is a finishing up of a part of something that you've been trying to heal and almost had healed, and you can heal it this time in your transit. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so if you have the 11th house, it is time for you to upgrade. Time for you to have better people around you, have better groups around you, have better organizations around you, have better systems around you. It is time for you to level up. So when you have this transit, and this is, again, it's personal because it happened to me. I did not realize, I'm going to bring it down and personalize it so that maybe you can see, maybe it's going to happen in, maybe you'll see little things that are happening to you that happened to me. I'm not saying it's the exact thing because we're all different, but when Capricorn came into my 11th house, when Pluto came into Capricorn in my 11th house, I had a very, very, very different life. I worked in the medical health field, and then I worked in research in medical health in genomics and genomes and genetics and that was part of it. The other part was like, our research did a lot of things. Anyway, I'm still under contract for some. I can't say, but anyway, I thought I was doing good. I loved the organization of the healthcare field, right? I loved the organization and the system of marriage. I was married. But when when Pluto came in, and he didn't do it all at once, but throughout this transit, my husband passed, that system went away from me. I had to identify with who I was on my own. Then I saw the healthcare field, which was a system and an organization that I completely believed in at the time. Completely believed in. I was still trying to figure out how am I going to get the spiritual and the science behind, because spirits and science, because I've always been a medium, right? But when 2008 began, I started really questioning, how do I do both of these? Because what I'm hearing in society is that if you have this, and again, this is way back then, if you have this, then this doesn't agree with it. The science doesn't agree with the spirituality. So, but I knew somewhere that they could meet somewhere. Now that's a thing. Back then it wasn't a thing, right? But also the fact that I really believed in the system of healthcare. I really believed and understood and was practiced and studied, and I did this for a career. I did it for almost 20 years, right? I believed in it. But then I started seeing when Pluto came in, I started seeing the reality of this pattern doesn't fit this pattern. They're saying one thing and doing another. I'm having to do things that we're not supposed to be doing. And I'm seeing it's because it's all about the money. And I'm seeing it's because it's all about big pharma. And I'm seeing it's because it's the boys club, and you have to be the ego, and your ego's got to be fed, and you got to do this and rub shoulders with this person, because I did a lot of like all of that. I was in that part of it. So I started to see, and it started to really wear on me for years, because we just got through with the transit, and I left right under my 20 years. I could no longer do it. My 11th house was being activated. I was outgrowing this. I was seeing the abuse. I was seeing the mistreatment. Y'all are seeing it now. You're seeing it. You saw it in the pandemic. You're seeing how numbers are moved and changed, and how the people can, write off something and do something else, and just pay this more and just pay that more. And I don't want to say all the keywords, because I don't want to I have no idea what the algorithm's going to do with it. But I saw all of this before that happened. I saw all of this before the pandemic, and I left. I decided to walk away from it. I could no longer participate in that group. I was seeing with the brain, like I'd said, because you're really intelligent in this 11th house. You can see patterns where people can't see patterns. You can see things where people can't see things. And I was seeing this. My 11th house was activated. I was seeing all of this. And I came to a point where I outgrew that system. Now, am I saying I'm better than that system? No, I just outgrew. I could no longer be a part of that system. And not just that, but like the marriage, it's my husband crossed over, so that was taken away. My groups, my foundations were taken away, and that's what I've been dealing with throughout this transit. And what did I do? At first, I jumped right back in because this is what you can do when the systems and the groups and the organizations and the tribes and the spiritual groups, you when you see that you're no longer a part of that anymore, or you can be ostracized from that, or you can, and it was coming to a point where I could have been ostracized from that, because I was no longer playing the game, and it was starting to get noticed that I was no longer playing the game, right? I'm divulging a lot, and some of it is still under, I can't say the name, but some of it is still under where I can't say stuff. Anyway, I don't want the algorithm to pick up some of these words. So I hope you understand what I'm saying. Anyway, so I could have been ostracized. But whatever happened, it got taken away. I left, it got taken away, walked away, whatever. It was gone, right? But what did I do? I had this other part of me. I had the spiritual side of me. I had this training of the spiritual side of me with the Vedics and the all of the modalities that I learned, all of the modalities that I got certified in and degreed in and whatever, because I did that while I was in my career as well. So I had this other part of me. So what did I do? Instead of understanding who I was, this was my mistake because I didn't understand the 11th house at the time. Instead of doing that, I jumped right into another group. And that is the spirituality group. And I'm about to say some things that people are going to get offended by, but I don't really care. You get offended, you can watch, you cannot watch, I really don't care. Because I've already been through the Pluto in my 11th house. I'm not afraid of that. But when I jumped into the spirituality group, organization, system, I found that it was toxic as well. And it was doing the same things in a different way that the healthcare system was doing and that marriage was doing and that other groups were doing. It's just doing it in a different way, right? And I haven't said a lot about this, but finally I went into that group and realized the abuse, realized the mishandling, realized the indoctrination, realized the people aren't seeing the patterns that I was seeing. What's going on? Why are these people this way? What's it? All of that, right? This is very controversial what I'm saying, but I really don't care. It needs to be said because I said I was going to be authentic and help you understand the reality of what Pluto helps us heal, right? So, I jumped right back into this. I jumped into the spirituality group, and what I found was it was toxic. It's very toxic, and it was just as toxic as the healthcare field and the research field and the big pharma and all. It's just as toxic, right? But nobody wants to talk about it. Everybody's being hush hush about it. And so finally, when I decided to step back, and I did what you could possibly do is to isolate from the group, to get away from the group, to figure out you're no longer with that group. That group, you're out of, like, they're out of touch. The patterns are all wrong. What they believe in, they're not what they're saying. They don't believe in what they're doing. They're saying something else. All of it, right? And just as much as it's in the spiritual group, it was right. It just as much as it was in the spiritual group, it was in the healthcare, it was in the school, it was all of that, and I was seeing all of that, and I was experiencing a lot of that, the loss, the walking away, the being ostracized, the not getting, I mean, I got punished, you can say that, I mean, I never think of it that way, but if you look at it, I got punished for stepping back from the spirituality group, right? Because I would no longer like, I'll give you the perfect example, and I'm not saying that anybody specific, there's nobody specific that did anything to me. I'm just saying, like, twin flame started to be a thing, and I'm like, that doesn't make sense to me. So I'm just gonna step back from it. And then I didn't like. Again, nobody did anything to me. I'm just saying, you got bigger and better as a channel. You got more views. You got a bigger following. You got a blah blah blah. If you were with the twin flame thing, or if you did do this, or if you were toxic in this way, and I was seeing this. I haven't discussed this with you guys, but I was seeing all of this. I was seeing all this toxicity, and I'm like, I don't want to be a part of this group. I do not want to be a part of this group. I was already part of a group that I just left. I don't want to be a part of this group. So I stepped back, and I had to, and I did. This is why I'm doing this Pluto thing, because I helped heal my Pluto. Hopefully I've completely healed it, but I don't know. Okay. But I took the time, exited from the group, figured out who I was, and what I believed in, what I've understood, the patterns I see, the groups I want to be in. And I did decide I do want to be in the group YouTube, because I do like that group. Does it have problems? Yes. Can I change some of them? Sure. Can I work within that and change it? Yes. You don't have to completely separate from a group and stay out of it, is what I'm saying. I'm trying to help you work through the 11th house, right? But I'm making it personal so that you kind of understand the patterns, right? Do I want to stay in the spiritual group? Yes, because I think at the core they have a good message. I think at the core they the spiritual community is what I'm talking about. I think that they want to know more, and they want to understand more, and we all make mistakes, right? And so is because I can see that we can progress, because that's when all the tarot readers are coming, and they don't even know what they're doing, most of the tarot readers, and they're just talking out of their ass. Sorry, but they are. And then astrologers are just not real astrologers, and they're just talking out of their ass and whatever. That's my opinion. What I'm saying is, I can still see at the core that we can progress this community in a better way. And so, with my choice, as my choice, this is my choice. I went, did my work, healed my part, understood my way, and then decided, okay, um, I'm gonna stick with the YouTube. I'm gonna stick with, and that's why I'm not on TikTok, because I've learned my lesson. I'm very leery about what groups I'm going to put my energy into. Does that make sense? And I'm not saying this about the spiritual community so that they can feel bad and say, oh, we're wrong, or you're not any better, or you're better than me, or and that's not what I'm saying this for. What I'm saying this for is because I believe in the spiritual community, but because it is a group and an organization, because I've dealt with a lot of groups, organizations, and systems, I can see where we needed to change. I can see where we still need to change. And I have decided, because I know myself better now, I understand better now. I'm healing this Pluto for me. I understand that we can do this together, right? Without accusing everybody. Let's do this together and understand that we all make mistakes, and some people see differently than other people, and it doesn't make it right or wrong. Um, yeah, I'm still working on that. I'm still working on that. But that stuff can happen during your transit, because you're trying to level up your friendships. That's the other thing, is there were friendships too. All my friend groups, I left my friend groups because they were toxic. I mean, in the beginning, I was like, well, it's because they're not doing what I'm doing anymore. I just kind of feel it different. But some of them were toxic. Some of them were great. I just wasn't there anymore. I was in I had a very different life, or a very different life was starting to be birthed. And so my friends group changed. My family dynamics changed. My, um, healthcare, career changed. There's a lot of things that change, and so it's not just about like when you hear the groups, organizations, and systems, you're thinking what could possibly be, and that's why I'm telling you my story because I just went through this transit, and I am in a very different place than I was in 2008. I'm in a very different place, but I am in a better emotional, healed place than I was in 2008. Um, like I said, it was nothing for me to work 80, 100 hours a week. It was nothing for me to be traveling constantly and then having the friends that I had. Some of them were toxic, some of them were not for me, some of them, all of that. So, what I understood and how I healed this was I had to go in. I had to understand who I was. I had to understand what I saw and made my opinion to believe in. And then I had to open my heart again because I did isolate for a long time. I isolated for a long time. And yeah, I made the excuse, well, it was the pandemic and I was just mad at everybody. I was mad at everybody, but that was part of my healing. I had to understand me. I had to go within me. And I had some wonderful surprises. I have a new grandson who's 4 years old now. He's a pandemic baby. But I had some great building blocks too. It's not all destruction. It, but there is healing in this. And so I'm saying that because I'm now at the place. I'm just starting because I just went through this transit. It is now Pluto is now in my 12th house where I can't see. But now is the time to build. Now is the time to belong or make a group. Like I said, you either make the organization or you go in and help change an organization, but it's one that matches you. It's not you trying to fight the system. It's one that matches you, right? That's the difference. Okay. So we'll see where I go with this. That's my 11th house. I'm saying blessings. I'm giving a lot of good energy and some clarity and some courage and you already have the knowledge if your 11th house is activated. You're going to you're going to kind of, it's not that you're not smart now, but you're going to be very clear about things. So I'm sending all of that good vibes to you guys so that you get through this because it is not an easy transit. It's not. None of them are easy. None of these houses are easy, but my hope is that I give you just a little bit of encouragement and a little bit of knowledge and a little bit of understanding so that you get through this easier and faster. All right. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. I hope you learned something. Please let me know in the comments if you have this house, if it's transiting for you, has anything started to come up, what's come up. I'm really interested in that too. And please be sure to like, share, and subscribe.